Welcome to the Stand Like Men podcast. I am Logan Ingram.
And I'm Daniel Challenberg.
And today we are gathering together to try and figure out what biblical masculinity is.
Yeah.
We are going over topics, some that you have brought up as listeners, some that we come up with, and we're trying to figure out exactly what God wants that to look like in our lives.
Yeah. And if you're enjoying the show, we'd love it if you would like and subscribe and leave us a comment and send us some more topics. And my microphone feels really close right now.
You're good.
Okay. But yeah, you can send us an email at standlikemen@gmail.com.
Sweet. A little off book, but
it's all right.
It worked great.
I think it worked okay.
Yeah.
Of course, our listeners are probably going, what's happening right now? They really shouldn't ad-lib.
Whatever.
Daniel
it's our
ad-
podcast. We get to do what we want.
That's right, listener. No, Daniel shouldn't
Get your
ad-lib.
own podcast.
Get your own podcast and then tell us about it at standlikemen@gmail.com.
There you go. All right. What are we going over today, Daniel?
Today we're going to be talking about worth, value, and identity. So I heard a quote from a very smart individual. I don't know who it is, but he was a very smart dude. You just, I guess, trust me on that, which is like the best bibliography anybody can provide.
Smart guy, trust me.
Smart guy, trust me. But he said that everyone that you will ever meet has infinite value. And I thought, that's an interesting take. And I didn't like that at first because I'm like, there's some people that seem pretty worthless. Mm-hmm. I didn't like it. But I started looking at it from a Jesus perspective, and I realized that dude was smarter than he thought. Because I don't think he was a Christian. But he just believed that everybody had value just intrinsically. Yeah. So I started doing some research on it, and I hope it's okay that I'm just jumping into all this.
I had hoped you would.
Oh, great. So this topic actually has come up a lot in conversation over the past month or two. I've been doing a lot of thinking about it. I've been doing a lot of talking to people about it. And I actually taught a class for the youth group about this. And so where do we find our value and where do we find our worth? And there is a difference between value and worth. Look at a Da Vinci painting. That is going to be infinitely more valuable than a painting by me because Da Vinci is a lot better at painting than I am. So value is based on who made the thing. Another example is like Ferrari makes a better car than a Ford Focus.
Yeah.
It's just more valuable because it's just better. And you may have a preference for a Ford Focus, that's fine. But like any car person is going to recognize that a Ferrari is better than a Ford Focus. It just is. Because of who made the thing. And so when I say that, or when this really smart dude says that every person has infinite value, what he's saying is you look at like who made the thing. And we as Christians believe that God made humans, God made man. And because he made the thing, in fact, he signed his name to it. You know what a Ferrari looks like because it has the Ferrari signed their name to it. It has their image on the car. And so as it's driving by, you say, that's a Ferrari because it has its image, its logo on it. God put his image on us. And so we know that we are created in God's image. We know that we're created by God because he created us in his image. And so that's how we know that we have infinite value. There is a difference between value and worth. Value is who made the thing. Worth is what you're willing to pay for it. So now I can talk about the story of going out looking for a grill. My son and I were walking around. We found all of these amazing grills and griddles and smokers. And I'm like, man, think of all of the amazing food I can make with these things. And we were really excited. But one thing that I tell my son is when I see something that I am not willing to spend the money for, like either I can't afford it or whatever, I say I've got better things to waste money on than that. Whether it's, a shirt or a car or a grill or whatever, I look at it and say, I have better things to waste money on. And it's my way of convincing myself that, do I actually need it? Like if I were to bring this home and it was an absolute, complete, worthless purchase, would I be disappointed? He hates it when I say that. He absolutely hates it when I say, I have better things to waste money on, because especially when I say it about his money, because he's like, should I buy this, like this water gun? I'm like, this thing could be sold at Dollar General. And
Yeah.
you're paying like $15 for it. It's going to be crap. But
Yeah.
he hates it when I talk about that.
Oh, I know.
So when we were looking for a grill, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I would love to have a Blackstone grill, but I have better things to waste $2,200 on than this gorgeous piece of equipment. Now, no one is going to argue that. I'm not going to argue with you that Blackstone is very valuable. Like, I can see it's a very, very well made, high quality parts. It even has the Blackstone image on it. Like, I know who made it. I know that they make good things. I know it's incredibly valuable. But to me, it's not worth it to me to pay that price.
Yeah.
And so from a Christian perspective, I know that we have infinite value because I know who created us. And I know that we have infinite worth because I know who paid our price. Like, we are, Romans says, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and the wages of sin is death. Like, we deserve death. And Jesus looked at us when he was as his divine eternal self, looked at us and said, you know what, it's going to cost me my life in order to save these humans, and I'm going to do it. It is absolutely worth it to me. He could have looked at us and said, I have better things to waste my life on than to save them. But what he actually looked at us and said, this is a bargain. And the cool thing is, Jesus didn't buy us in bulk. He bought us individual. Like, he bought each of us individually. And I firmly believe that if there was one person in history that had sinned, everybody else was perfect, no one else had sinned, no one else had done anything wrong, he still would have paid with his life for that person.
I agree with that.
Because he sees
valid.
And he created us. Like, he knows the value that we have because he created us, and he knows, and to him, it's absolutely worth it to pay that price. So anyway, that's how I know we have infinite value and infinite worth. From my perspective, it looks like the world doesn't want us to believe that. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
they want us to believe, the world wants us to believe. I was just talking to Charles out there, one of the agents that works here with me. Is your worth built on money?
Mm-hmm.
Is it your status? Is it what car you drive, like
Mm-hmm.
Ferrari or Lamborghini? What is your worth? And clearly the world pushes the material.
Yeah.
It pushes what kind of job do you have? What's your title?
Mm-hmm.
What neighborhood do you live in? How much money you make a year?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Where do you go on vacation? And we got to be really careful not to get caught up in that, because that's one of the easiest traps of the world to me to get caught up in.
Yeah.
Is the worth value trap.
Mm-hmm. Is
thinking that that's where it is. That's what's important, is us building that wealth and value, and just, I think there's something inherent about human nature, and I think it's Satan attacking us. That's exactly where he attacks us, is our worth.
Oh yeah.
That's what most people struggle with, is self-value and self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why there's so many books on it, so many coaches and speakers and events and whatever else, because we struggle with it. I think that's one of the biggest struggles of the human condition.
I agree with that.
Yeah. But we've got to fill that question of what is my worth with more eternal stuff.
Yeah.
And the way my therapist put it once was, it's the eternal versus the empire.
Mm.
And I like that a lot. Just whatever visual that brings to mind, that makes sense to me.
The eternal versus the empire?
Yeah.
Expand on that.
So empire is like worldly stuff.
Okay.
Eternal, godly stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you're building an empire where you're going to have your job title, your money, your cars.
Okay.
Eternal, where you're going to have probably your friends, your community, your church.
Yeah.
Your whatever time you take to worship, Bible studies, all of that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And generally, the empire, like an empire that you build with by eternal means, is going to last longer than an empire built by worldly means.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about Musk and Bezos last episode, and how they're competing to prove. I guess they're competing to prove their value or worth by trying to be the richest man in America, and then they're trying to go to space. And so, like, they're probably. I mean, they'll probably be known. Like 10 to 50 years after they're dead, they'll probably still be known, but they're not going to get. I mean, it's just going to be a footnote in a textbook eventually. I mean, founder of Amazon. It doesn't look like Amazon's going anywhere anytime soon,
right? And
then you've got Elon's various entrepreneurial escapades, but like. I mean, eventually that's going to fall. It's going to falter. Because, I mean, how often does Rockefeller come up in conversation? Right. How often does Carnegie come up in conversation? Not generally about their, like, business stuff. So, I mean, eventually
not near what it used to. It used to be those were household names.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that they were Bezos and Musk and Trump back in the day.
Rockefeller has a plaza.
Yeah.
So people don't talk about him. They talk about the location.
They do talk about the family.
They talk about the family a little bit.
Foundations and stuff. But yeah, it's not like it was.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure it's not like he had hoped.
Yeah.
Probably.
And same with Carnegie, where he's got a bunch of different foundations and charitable works. Like the stuff that's lasting is the stuff that's outwardly focused rather than inwardly focused.
Well, I've had the pleasure of knowing and am acquainted with some extraordinarily successful people in the worldly sense.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are actually older now. And that's a big lesson that they've tried to impart to me is they've had it all.
Yeah.
Like one of them, I believe, was a billionaire at one point. And none of that's really important to him anymore. Like all he ever talks about is his family, and that's it. And he talks to me. He'll just randomly bring up some story and go, "Man, I wish I'd have done that different," or, I wish I knew now what I knew, or I wish I knew then what I know now, and talk about moments in his life that he has changed or would have done things totally different. And it's a totally different perspective shift. And I think Jim Carrey actually had a really amazing speech where he talked about that he hopes everyone gets everything they've ever dreamed of so that they realize it's not all that.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. You get it. And I think we talked about this on the last episode. It's like I could go shoot a 400-inch bull elk and I'd be ecstatic and I'll remember that for a long time. But kind of the deal we were talking about with hope and joy, happiness and joy, it's on to the next thing. Like, well, shoot, now I hope I kill a 410.
Yeah.
And so, I get to every business milestone in my life that I've hit, I get to another point where I'm like, okay, what's the next?
Yeah.
Where's the next one? And there's been moments where I'm like, man, if I just had this, dude, I would be so happy, so content. And I've hit a bunch of them and I am happy about it, but there's always that driving force. Okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Well, let's do it again, but better. Let's go a little more.
Let's kill a deer in space.
Yeah, that's what you brought up last time. Yeah.
I think you should do it.
Well, so
I bet you Musk would be on board with that.
Yeah.
Killing a deer in space.
If you could get the deer to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you he'd be willing to make a suit for the deer.
You know what? I'm just going to call him.
Yeah, I think you should. He doesn't have anything else going on right now.
No, he's good. Yeah, me and him were buddies.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't think we can talk about it enough. Like the world definitely is attacking. I guess this is our next topic. The next subtopic thing that we're talking about in this episode is identity. Like the world wants to, by the world I mean the enemy wants to challenge our identity. and call into question what our worth and value is.
Yeah. And it goes back to previous episodes that we've talked about, like, what does what you do matter? Mm-hmm. You know, because that's kind of what it involves, is your worth, your self-worth. Like, do you matter to the world? Are you valuable to the world, to other people, to your family? And yeah, I think that's exactly where he hits us the hardest. Because how can you be effective if you don't believe you're valuable? Because I've gone years where I thought that. I'm like, whatever I do doesn't matter. I'm not valuable to anybody except my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
And I promise you, those were some of the lowest moments of my life.
Oh, absolutely.
Where I didn't have anything really to push towards. And it was all self-focused, just like we talked about last episode. It's so self-centered.
Yeah.
And that's all I could focus on was, well, poor me. Nobody, you know, I don't have value in this world.
Yeah. And that's an important point to clarify, is that when we're talking about worth and value, it has to come from God.
Yeah, it's got to be eternal focus.
It has to be. And that's where, like, my definitions I was talking about, like, your value comes from your creator. Like, you have value because of who created you. It's from God. Your worth comes from who bought you, which is Jesus. Like, it has to be godly focused. And if it's not, like, it is fleeting and it's going to go away. I talked about my buddy where several weeks ago, where during generational inheritance.
Oh yeah,
that we were talking about.
Yeah,
and you know, he talks about his mom was trying to get value from her mom. She was trying to get her value and worth from her mom, and her mom wouldn't give it. And I'm sure we talked about that back then, where they kept trying to get their worth and value from their mother, but they were never giving it to their children. And so he sees his siblings, they're desperately trying to get their worth and value, they need that validation. They need to feel valuable, and they're trying to get that from their mother, and she can't and or won't give it to them because she never got it from her mother. And so it's just, we talked about it in that episode, where it's just this cycle of generational inheritance, where everybody's suffering because everybody's trying to feel valuable and feel worthy of love or whatever, but they can't get it because their mom's not giving it to them. And the buddy I'm talking to is like, yeah, he's actually, like, been healing from that inheritance. And he's like, the biggest thing that he can point to why he is not like his siblings is that he stopped trying to get his value from his mom. He's like, I know that I'm never going to get value from mom. I'm not going to do it. Like, because I recognize that this woman is always going to deny me value and worth. And every time something good happens to me, she's going to try and take the credit for it. Or she's going to try to push me down in order for me to not feel good about it, not to feel worthy of the respect or the honor or whatever. And he's like, once I realized that I'm never getting that from her, I turned to God. I'm like, God is not going to fail me. And sure enough, he's gone through a lot of hard times. Like, his wife has gotten sick, and he's almost lost his job a couple times. Like, things have not gone well for him in the course of his life, but he's always felt peace because he looked to God. And he's like, I get my worth and my value from God. And he had that eternal focus. And yeah, that was the end of that sentence.
Yeah. I mean, that's when I figured it out. It's when I turned outward.
Yeah.
Quit looking so deep inside of myself, and even to the people close by me. Like, you can't even do that. You got to look further than that.
Yeah.
And that's when my life kind of changed in that regard, is for my self-worth and value is I don't have to worry about that as much. Like, I don't walk into a room seeking that value from others. Like, I just walk in knowing I'm valuable, and then see what comes out of it. Yeah. And it's been life-changing for me, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Because you feel like you're starving almost for that validation and that value. And that's what it feels like, but it's like this soul wrecking starvation. And it's awful. It's an awful, awful feeling.
Definitely.
And it's incredible how simple it is to change it and to get a totally different perspective. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But it is simple.
Yeah. I mean, it's simple in theory, but difficult in application.
Yeah.
Yeah. What like a lot of things.
Well, yeah. And some of it, you're breaking neural pathways. You're breaking literal and figurative and mental, emotional chains that have held you back for a long time.
And it's countercultural.
Yeah.
It's exactly opposite of what the enemy wants you to believe.
Yeah, yeah. And you're breaking habits.
Yeah.
You really are, because I'm still doing it to this day, and I've been working on this for 4 or 5 years now. And it's still, some days I'm like, gosh, why can't I get this figured out?
Yeah.
Why do I keep falling into this stupid thing?
Yeah.
Or why do I do this stupid thing again and again and again? And I look back, because I've been doing it. I did it for 35 years. Yeah. And I have not been doing it for 5 years. There's a bit of a difference there. And so we're trying to break habits.
Redirecting. It takes a while to get back on the highway when you make a wrong turn.
100%. Yeah.
So how would you tie worth to identity?
I think
can you tie worth to identity?
Yeah. Okay. I think you can, because that's what the world does.
Okay.
So we're struggling with identity. Somebody's struggling with identity. Me, as 20-something-year-old, I wasn't playing college football anymore. I was done because I graduated. I was now a new dad and a new husband relatively, and wasn't doing that great in business stuff at work. It was fine, but there were other circumstances going on that it was taking a beating every day. And so I figured, and I even had somebody tell me this at church one time. I came back from living out of town, and it was a guy I'd known for, 10 plus years. He goes, "Man, you don't even look like an athlete anymore." And what a stab. What a hit, man. What a jerk. Right in the heart. Oh, it was so, and I know he wasn't being ugly about it, but dude, you don't say that. You don't say that to anybody, but especially because growing up, my identity was tied to sports.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't know who I am as a man. And so I play college football. I'm tall, I'm strong, yada, yada. And so that's where I got my worth from. And that became my identity. So when he hit me with that was crushing to me. I'm like, okay, well then who am I? If I'm not the athlete anymore and not impressive anymore in the physical sense, then what am I?
Yeah.
And then it turned to, okay, well, I'm going to be the best hunter that I can possibly be. I'm going to be this person everyone talks about, and get all these accolades from these online forums and wherever else that people talk about hunting, because I'm going to kill the biggest deer. I'm going to do
in space.
I'm going to hunt the most. Yes, in space. In space.
They're gonna, once you get that bull deer. Did I say that right? Bull elk. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm not a hunter.
That's okay.
Once you get that bull elk in space, every Facebook forum is going to be quiet.
That's it.
They can't compete with it.
That's exactly right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And no.
Completely
You didn't at all.
Kill your thunder.
No, you're good. But of course, I strived for that at the cost of my marriage and being a father and other stuff. And my worth and identity was so tied into being that hunter.
Yeah.
And I failed at it. I couldn't get these animals that I was trying to go after in some circumstances because they didn't exist.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying for, in hunting, you judge antlered animals like by the inches of antler that they have on their head. Well, I was in this area that I was hunting, is our place back in Texas. 150-inch whitetail is like a pinnacle deer there, because they don't really get bigger than that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always pushing for that mark or higher. 160, 170, 180. They don't exist there. And so it's just, I'm setting myself up for failure all this time. And so when I was failing at that and just couldn't quite make it happen, or was just felt like I was doing everything wrong, well, okay, I suck at this thing. And that's how I felt sometimes, like I'm really bad at this thing. And so now who am I?
Yeah.
Right. And it took me going on a mission. I think I talked about it last time, a mission trip to Haiti, and seeing the joy and stuff that people have there without hunting in their lives.
Yeah.
You know, because that was what I was all about. My wife will tell you that. And luckily she doesn't remember it as vividly as I do.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, I think it was because it was such an internal struggle for me. And that's why it is so ingrained in me. Whereas it was an external thing that she witnessed and was part of.
Well, it's another attack from the enemy.
It is.
Making it seem like it. I mean, it is a big deal that your family was suffering because you were doing that thing. But then,
and they weren't like suffering and going hungry and stuff, but it wasn't good.
It wasn't good.
Yeah.
But now that you're like, you've shifted your focus, he's attacking you with shame.
Yes. Yeah. Because I still feel that sometimes, which is weird.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long. And what's crazy is now I actually hunt more now than I ever have and go on amazing trips. And it doesn't negatively affect my life.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of that shift.
Yeah.
It's not like if I have to cancel a hunt, okay, no big deal. Back then, oh my gosh, dude, it'd been the end of the world. Or if I went on a hunt that I was supposed to go on and it was like a destination trip and I didn't get one, oh my gosh, man, just the devastation that it would have caused. I'd have come home mopey and griping to my wife and kids and lashing out at people, and it wasn't good.
Yeah.
And so, but with that, and that's going on that mission trip, it opened my eyes to, okay. And the question I kept feeling in my mind, it's like, it felt like God was asking me, okay, what if I took this away from you? Like, what if you never got to hunt in the world? Because you can't hunt in Haiti. None of them are allowed to hunt. There's nothing really to hunt anyway. But he's like, what if I called you to the mission field and you had to go to Haiti and you live there for the rest of your life? There's no opportunities like that there. What then? Are you gonna be mad the rest of your life? Are you gonna mope the rest of your life? And that really opened my eyes a lot to my faults in that area.
Yeah.
And to really, like, at that moment, I realized that hunting was an idol for me. And that started a big mindset shift for me. And it was an identity thing. So I had to turn inward and start really reading scriptures and trying to figure it out. And I kind of turned it towards, okay, well, we're not doing the hunting thing. Let's go to the business side. And my family didn't really struggle as much, and like that I was gone and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't seem to figure it out. You know, always asking myself, why isn't this working? Why can I not get to these points in my life? Why can't I kept asking, why do I still not feel worthy? That's pretty much what I was asking. And so I'm not the hunter that I thought I would be. I'm not the businessman I thought I would be. And clearly, because of those things, I'm not the husband or the father that I thought I would be. And so it took a couple years to sort it all out. Yeah. But I think I have figured it out much better. And it took, honestly, surrounding myself with the right people.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we can get through life without that fellowship and encouragement from other believers and people who love us and will hear us out, who know us and still like us.
Yeah.
I just don't think we're supposed to do that. Anyway, I don't think that's how God designed us.
I agree.
Is to do it all by ourselves and just get our worth from these things.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, he looked at us doing the work by ourselves and said this is not good.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that you brought that up.
Yeah. Going back to creation, like he said, it's good. Whoop, I hit my microphone. He said, it's good, 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 very good. And then he said, this ain't good.
Yeah.
Like I made him to work. I made him to rule and reign with me. And this is not working. This is bad. And then he fixed it. by sending us woman
Mm-hmm.
to work with, to be a companion with, and to work alongside with us. So I completely agree. Like, yeah, we're not supposed to be alone. It is supposed to be communal.
Yep.
I wanted to circle back and say, isn't it interesting how the enemy sets impossible standards for us?
Right.
Because like when you're trying to like be the best hunter or be the best businessman, or when I'm trying to be the best photographer or videographer or video game enthusiast or whatever, the enemy says whatever you're working on, you need to find worth and value in that, and that's how you're going to be accepted, and that's how you're finally going to get loved. And he sets the impossible standards. Like for you, it was, you have to kill a deer that doesn't exist. You have to close a deal that is not possible in your market. Whatever it is, you have to be the best, and you have to do this thing, or else you're not going to get loved, and it's impossible. I also wanted to circle back and talk about shame and guilt real quick.
Okay.
Do you know that shame and guilt were originally slated to be emotions in the Inside Out 2 movie? You know of Inside Out?
I don't know if I've seen number 2.
Okay, so I haven't.
I know Inside Out. I love it. Actually.
Inside Out is great. First of all, it's a very charming video.
It is.
I think I recommend it. It's pretty good. It's a good flick. And then if you're not aware of it, it's basically there's a prepubescent girl, 10 to 12 years old or something like that. She moves and she's dealing with it emotionally. She has to deal with all that emotionally, and it actually throughout the film, like it takes you inside her head as her emotions are trying to resolve this inner conflict that's inside of her. And so the movie's really good, and it was very popular in a lot of mental health like arenas, because they're like, this is a great representation of what people are going through. And I know I had a lot of counselor friends like start recommending it to and talking about the genius of the story and how people have to go through all that stuff. And they presented it in such a wonderful package for small children to like connect with. And so like, I know a lot of those counselor friends were talking about how their child clients were actually like benefiting from watching that movie, because they're like, oh, I understand like what's happening now. Well, after the success of one movie, generally companies will start and will say that they need another movie, because they're just looking after more money. But that's a different conversation. But anyway, they start making it, and the story was going to be when the main character becomes a teenager. And so like, well, we need to introduce, and they joked about it at the end of the first one when she gets a new control panel that the emotions control and all that. And they hinted that there were going to be new emotions pop up. And so in the second one, they started teasing out like different emotions that might show up. And two of the emotions that they were considering bringing into the character's life was shame and guilt. Mm-hmm. Well, when the movie was released, shame and guilt were nowhere to be seen. They excluded them from, and they added 3 or 4 more emotions, but they didn't do that one. And one of the writers, when they asked him, what happened to shame and guilt, their reply was, well, we didn't really know how to handle that. And I just thought it was extremely interesting, because from a worldly perspective, they don't know how to handle shame and guilt.
Right. Yeah.
They have no clue.
Right.
They have no answer for shame or guilt.
That's a great point.
And from my perspective, guilt is from the Holy Spirit, because guilt drives you back to Calvary. It says, all right, you screwed up. You need to go back to Jesus. Where shame is from the enemy saying, yep, you screwed up, and it immediately starts attacking your identity. And the answer for guilt is, go back to Jesus. Be reconciled to him. The answer to shame is stop listening to the enemy, because he's like, when you start feeling shameful, you start questioning your identity and your worth and your value. Like, where was I going to go with that? I don't know if I was going anywhere.
I don't know.
I just lost it.
I can think of a few ways you can go with it.
All right, take one of them and go with it because I'm lost.
All right, so when you're attacked by the enemy.
Yep.
Well, so generally the enemy attacks you with lies, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He is the author of lies.
Yeah.
The only way really to combat him is truth.
Yeah.
So if he's attacking you with worth stuff, it's probably a lie.
Yeah.
Like if you're feeling that, it's probably a lie.
Yeah.
And so you have to combat it with truth.
Yeah.
Either you surround yourself with really good people who will tell you the truth. You can do some positive affirmation stuff, but I think digging into the word and prayer is where you really get it.
Yeah.
Because that's the truth. Because you can, I think, a lie can't stand up to the truth.
Yeah. A shadow can't stand up to a flashlight.
Right.
Through the light.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and the thing is, like, the enemy will lie, and the problem is there's a grain of truth in every lie. And so what he'll do is he'll find whatever failure that you've done. Like, you didn't kill a buck. Okay, well, he's going to use that failure of killing a buck and expand on that and blow it up and blow it out of proportion. And he's going to convince you of what I don't know if I like. Is that fine? That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to attack you, though.
Well, I just want to say that this is a very simplified version, an example.
Yes.
Killing a deer is not the worst, or not killing a deer is definitely not the worst thing that's ever happened in my life.
That's good.
It felt like it for a minute.
Yeah.
But no, this is just a very simple and easy example to use where I was putting my value in something else.
Yeah. Does it feel like I'm attacking you when
No.
Okay, good.
I'm the one that brought it up.
Okay. Well, yeah, but I don't want the enemy to think that to convince you that I'm heaping it on.
Nope.
Okay. Because I'm
willing to listen to truth, right?
All right.
If it's true, then I'll listen.
So yeah, the enemy is going to try and take your quote unquote failure at killing a deer, and he's going to twist that and expand on that to other areas. Well, if I failed at this, then I'm probably a failure in this.
Yes.
If I'm a failure at this, then I'm probably a failure at this.
Yeah. And that fear has kept me from doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that would have been good for me.
Yeah. About the enemy setting in impossible standards, this is where imposter syndrome comes from.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you should kill a deer that doesn't exist every time you go hunting.
Yeah.
You should be killing a 170-inch buck
if you're
time.
As good as you think you are, you should be doing it this way and doing these things.
And when you come home without that 180-inch buck, your wife is going to say, well, that's okay. A doe is fine.
She doesn't care.
Well, yeah. When you're upset, she'll say, oh, that's okay. But deep down, you know that she cares. And deep down, you know that she thinks that you're less of a man because you didn't kill that buck.
I mean, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Because there's been times where I've confessed that I didn't hit a certain goal, and I felt it deep in that she's disappointed in me.
Yeah.
And I know now that was never the case.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with it.
The enemy is great at lying.
Well, he's amazing at it. And something I've heard quite a bit recently is from a few different people is that he attacks us really where we're the strongest. And so he'll, like, if we're really good at something, he'll start chipping away at that. Like, say a football analogy, all right? You've got a receiver who has wheels like nobody else in the NFL.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
You're going to keep him from running.
You're going to try and take his legs out and keep him from running.
Yeah.
Or quarterback is a great runner. What do? Well, you put the pressure on and make sure he can't run.
Yeah.
Or if he's a good passer, you hammer down and blitz and get him out of the pocket so he can't pass. So you attack them at their strengths. And so I believe Satan does that to us too.
Definitely.
It's if we're really, really good with people, or could be really, really good with people and connecting with people, he's going to attack our self-esteem and our confidence walking into a room.
Yeah.
And, there's a ton of other examples that you could apply that to.
So how do we take this? Where do we go from here? So we say that we have infinite value and infinite worth. What do we do? Because early we were talking about like we have to get our value and worth from God. And,
yes.
And then that we hinted at it today, but we kind of talked about it more last week, where that then like the fruit of the Spirit is an outwardly focused action. Like it is for the benefit of other people. It's out there. So kind of, I guess, extrapolating and merging together, like how does this look when we're dealing with other people? Does that make sense?
Can you ask that question again?
I wasn't paying attention the first time. So with the fruit of the Spirit, like last week we talked a little bit about the fruit of the Spirit and how the fruit is not to benefit the tree. The fruit is to benefit something else, either to create another tree or to nourish someone else. And so we talked about how the things that we do are supposed to nourish other people or build other people up. And so extrapolating that and merging it with what we're talking about today, how does knowing that we have infinite worth and infinite value, how does that translate into everyday life?
Okay. I think if we really take that on and say, okay, I'm going to start speaking truth, that I do have infinite worth and I do have infinite value and what I do matters, then you act on it. So you can't just wake up and not believe something, right? A lie that you've been told forever. Generally, you got to start breaking it down. And you can't just break a habit generally cold turkey that you've been doing for 30 years. Generally speaking, some people can, and I don't know how. If I'm just sitting there in a lie thinking, well, I don't really have value. I'm not good at public speaking. I'm not good at teaching. And then Daniel Schallenberg comes up to me and says, hey, we're starting our Boys to Men summer series with these young boys. I would love for you to come talk at least one night. And I generally working, living in that lie, say, no, I'm not good at that. I can't do that. Well, if we're going to start combating that because I know that I have value and I know that what I do matters, I'm going to just say yes.
Yeah.
I don't have to have all the answers right that second. I don't have to be perfect at it and be the best. And I think that's a huge lie that that we're told, and something that I think everybody just lives with all the time. You believe that you can't start something until you're ready.
Yeah.
Till you feel ready.
Yeah.
That's dude, that has held me back for so many things.
Almost kept us from starting the podcast.
That's exactly right.
Because I'm like, I know we were both thinking like we're not mature enough, we're not ready enough to start the podcast. I was also thinking of like the tangibles, like we don't have a space to do it. The studio isn't ready. We don't have the lighting. We don't have this beautiful backdrop that we have now. Like there's so many things that like are keeping us from that we're not ready to start a podcast for.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's just stepping into it.
Yeah.
We just take that step because that is acting in faith that God's going to take care of us for one. And then it's saying, God, I'm trusting and I'm going to believe you that I do have worth and that what I do matters. I don't have to change the world by speaking to a bunch of sixth graders on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
But maybe something that I say plants a seed in their mind that they may not remember for 20 years.
Yeah.
Or they may just flat out consciously never remember.
Yeah.
But something in their mind changed.
Yeah.
And so I think that's how we do it. If you're going to change your mind and start believing that you do have worth, then you act.
Yeah. I've got another example of how to live this out. You posted several weeks ago, maybe a month ago, on social media. You shared a post from something. I don't remember what it was, but we talked about it briefly in the Keith English interview.
Yeah.
Where
You mean to read it?
Yeah, if you got it ready.
Hang on. All right. This is from Instagram account Mindset of a Man. And the quote is, as a man, no matter what you're going through, keep your mouth shut. Find a way. No one cares.
Yeah. So this is a wonderful example of what we would call a lie from the enemy.
Yeah. You'd be amazed at how many people put truth.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's true. Unfortunately, that's true. Yeah, speak it, preach it. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's stupid. Yeah. And it just shows how good of a liar the enemy is, because he has convinced thousands, if not millions of people in the world that this is true.
Yeah. I had a lot of people ask me, or say something about context, like that there's no context in that. And the context is
what they said.
It said, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's the context. No matter what, and no matter what situation, nobody cares.
Yeah. And I'm not sure there's ever a situation where nobody is going to care about you.
Right.
I can't think of a single time in anybody's life that someone wouldn't care for them. On some level.
Well, it's amazing that how many people argued with me, because I posted this. I reposted it with a long thing about this is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Because it's complete lie. Yeah. As a man, no matter what you're going through, keep your mouth shut. Find a way. Nobody cares like that.
Someone cares. First of all,
it's ludicrous to me.
And this is how living it out is going to look.
Yeah.
I think is when someone says like, no one cares about me, you say, okay, first of all, shut your mouth, because someone does care. Like, I care for you, because even if you don't have to like the person to care for them, and to recognize that they have infinite value because they were created by God. I've got maybe a dozen people that I don't like being around. I just don't want to be around them.
Yeah.
Either they're negative, or they smell funny, or whatever. They don't wash their hands, whatever it is. Like, I just do not want to be around them for whatever reason. However, I still recognize that they have infinite value, and because they were created by God, and they have infinite worth because Christ died for them. When I have that mindset, I'm willing to shake their hand, even though I know that they haven't washed their hands in 30 years. I'm willing to sit next to them at lunch because they have infinite value. Like, I'm willing to do that because I'm living for Christ, not for myself.
Yeah.
And so I think you were right by reposting that and saying, this is a lie, because even though you got pushback and you had people argue with you, I can almost guarantee that there was at least one or two men that read that and said, and it triggered of like, it started calling into question the lies from the enemy. And so start to call it out and say, hey, this is a lie from the enemy, because you have been told this before, but it's not true. And maybe someday that's going to grow into something where they're able to talk to you or talk to somebody else that they respect or that they feel safe around. And
it's funny, just a little while ago, I was on Instagram or Facebook again and saw somebody. I don't even know who it was or why it was on my feed. It's not I don't know. It wasn't a suggested friend, and it's not somebody I follow. Like, I don't even know this person.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how I saw it. But it was a picture of Johnny Cash, and he didn't even say this, but it was quoted as Johnny Cash saying it. And it said, trust will get you killed. Love will get you hurt. Being real will get you haters. And I'm like, all of those are a lie too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, well, yes, you're okay, sure, whatever. Yeah. If you go trust a criminal with your wallet, they're probably going to steal it.
Sure.
And if you love the wrong person, you're probably going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're real, probably somebody is going to say something a little negative. I had some negative comments on that, but it's like, okay. But, okay, if I didn't trust anybody, if I didn't trust you to come into this office and that we're going to do this together, and then this would never happen.
Yeah.
If I didn't love my wife, I wouldn't have been married. And with her, we've been together July 29th. We've been together 20 years.
Mazel tov.
And our 19th year anniversary of being married was just a few days ago.
Okay.
Well, if I didn't love her and trust her, I wouldn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's dumb, some of this stuff that comes out. And it's these lies are being perpetuated all throughout the world.
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And you brought it up in, I guess it was last time too, about marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing is a lie.
Oh, yeah.
It's, hey, you're not going to be the person you think you are until you have this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're not going to be liked until you have this thing.
Yeah.
And that's just how marketing works.
Yeah. You're not worthy. You're not valuable until you prove yourself by either owning this or doing this or whatever.
Yep.
Or you have this disease or you have this condition, like people find you're not worthy enough until you get your allergies fixed.
Yeah.
Like once you get rid of your plaque psoriasis, that's when people are going to start loving you. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just absurd.
Yep.
But the enemy is very good at lying to us.
Yeah.
The enemy is, I mean, he's had 6,000-ish years or more practicing how to lie to us. And he's gotten it perfected.
Yeah. In conclusion, Satan, the enemy, will attack our identity, our worth, and our value. Because if you can knock somebody down, just like somebody in prison, what do you do to somebody who's acting out, trying to start riots? Well, you put them in isolation.
Yeah.
You take away all of their value and their self-worth and identity. Because then they can't be the bully in prison if they're by themselves.
Yeah.
They can't be the strongest guy there. They can't be the guy who provides everything there. Mm-hmm. I mean, they do it with prisoners of war. How do you get them to start talking? Mm-hmm. Take away all of their value and believe they're all alone.
Yeah.
And that's Satan's number one attack in my mind.
And to convince us that our value is tied up in something other than God.
Yep.
Like our value, and he tries to convince us that our value and worth is tied up in anything except for God. Thank you for listening to the Staying Like Men podcast. We really appreciate y'all listening every week. If you would, please give us a like and a follow and send us an email at stayinglikemen@gmail.com.
Our verse is 1 Corinthians 16, 13, and 14.
Be watchful.
Stand firm in the faith. Act like men. Be strong.
Let all that you do be done in love.